Generals, fluid lines and fittings, oral questions. What are the two types of fluid lines commonly found in aircraft? Rigid metal lines and flexible hoses. Describe the method of classifying metal tube according to size. Metal tubing is sized according to the outside diameter in 1/16 of an inch with a given wall thickness. When installing stainless steel tubing, what types of fittings should be used? Stainless steel fittings. What is the function of the sleeve on a flared tube fitting? The nut fits over the sleeve and draws the sleeve and the tube flare tightly against the male fitting to form the seal. Describe the two types of flares commonly used in aircraft tubing. Single flare and double flare. How can you determine if a fitting is an AN type rather than an AC type? AN fittings have a shoulder between the flare cone and the end of the threads. AC fittings do not. What are the most significant differences between AN and AC fittings? Sleeve length, thread pitch, and the shoulder between the threads and the flare cone on the AN fitting. What are the names of the parts of a flareless tube fitting? The nut and the sleeve or ferrule. How do you tell a flareless fitting from a flare type fitting? Flareless fittings don't have a flare cone, and there is no space between the threads and the end of the fitting. What is the effect of over-tightening a flare-type fitting? The sealing surface may be damaged or the flare cut off. In addition to being securely clamped, what is an additional requirement for installing metal fuel, oil, and hydraulic lines? The lines must be electrically bonded to the structure. Describe the identification markings commonly found on flexible hoses. A ley line with a mil-spec number, manufacturer's name or symbol, the hose size, and a date code. What are some of the important advantages of Teflon tubing? It is compatible with nearly every liquid, has a broad operating temperature range, low resistance to flow, and a long shelf and service life. How can you determine if a flexible hose has been correctly or incorrectly installed? The ley line will be straight if the hose is properly installed. A twisted ley line indicates an incorrect installation. How are flexible hose sizes designated? They are measured by inside diameter in 1/16 of an inch. What precautions must be observed when deburring the end of a tube after it is cut? You cannot reduce the wall thickness in size and make sure there is no fracturing. Describe the operation of a quick disconnect coupling. Each half has a valve that is held open when coupled and is spring-loaded closed when disconnected. If you fabricate a replacement for a flexible hose, what percentage of the total length must be added for movement under pressure? Five to 8%. What happens to the tube when a flareless fitting is over-tightened? The tube is weakened and the nut drives the cutting edge of the sleeve too deeply into the tube. Why are quick disconnect fittings used? To provide a quick means to connect or disconnect a fluid line without the loss of fluid or entrance of air into the system.